Hello and welcome to Faith Matters. This is the programme where we look at Liverpool life through the prism of faith and belief. And our guests today are Jonathan Kent and Alan Landrum from Merseyside Police. Welcome, guys.
Good afternoon, Keith.
Jonathan, you're a police constable over in St Helens. You're also the chaplain for the St Helens area police force.
Yep.
And you head up the Christian Police Association, which is called River Force here in Merseyside. Tell us a little bit about this, the multiplicity of roles that you have.
The many hats.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been a police officer 25 years in total, and I've been in 3 different police forces. So I've been around the country a little bit. Been a Christian since I was a teenager. I came to a real faith in Jesus. And I've been at Merseyside Police since '96. Again, a number of roles I've fulfilled in Merseyside Police, but I've been a chaplain at St Helens since the last 3 years, where I've been based there. And also alongside that is the Christian Police Association in Merseyside, which has its own identity called River Force, which prior to me taking it on this year was started by Peter Owens and did a great job pioneering that new move for Christians in the police in Merseyside. And that was around about 8 years ago. So I've just taken that role on before Christmas.
And what kind of things are you doing? What kind of things have you got planned?
Right, chaplaincy, just to diversify the two roles, that's more of a listening service in the police. So with colleagues and staff, River Force is a Christian dedicated group within the police. It's a support group for Christians who are already in the police or staff. And it's also for people who are searching for God or searching for faith. We've got a number of events lined up this year. We've got 3 celebrations planned at headquarters, which we haven't done for quite a long time. So the first one is coming up very soon. Get different speakers from diverse backgrounds, really speaking about stories of life that are answering questions where people are itching.
Okay, great. Alan, you're also a member of River Force,
Yes.
but you work for the Community Engagement Unit, and you've got a brief there for religious diversity, support of religious communities. Tell us a little bit about it. It's a new role for you.
It's a new role.
Is it a new role?
It's a brilliant role. It's Merseyside's made up of such a diverse community, right up from Southport through to the Wirral, Sefton, St Helens area, is made up of such a diverse community. But we have to think about as well as the Merseyside Police is made up of a diverse community as well. And what we wanted to go out and find is that both the population of Merseyside is represented in the police force as well. So part of our brief is to engage with faith communities out there, because they are many and they are wide and they are varied. But also the brief is to align ourselves with all the minority groups that are out there, all the cultural background, people from different cultural backgrounds, different faith groups, and many of the underrepresented members of our community in Merseyside. So I've got a brilliant job, is to go out there and basically befriend these people in these certain communities, form relationships with them over long periods of time, and build bridges with them and see what they want from Merseyside Police as well. So it's great.
Okay, you're both cops, you're both Christians. I mean, how do you hold those two things together? Our viewers' image of the police, I don't know what it is, but you're tough guys, aren't you? How can you be? Christianity is sometimes viewed as a kind of soft option. How do you? I mean, you've been at this a long time, and you've been if I can say, you've been on the helicopter.
Yeah.
You've been in the Matrix.
Yep.
How have you dealt with those tensions over the years?
That's a good question, Keith. I would actually answer that by saying my faith works so well in the police, because you do see the good side and the bad side of life, and having a Christian faith and trust in Jesus has got me through so many things. A number of factors in my own life where my faith has been not only the guiding force but the strength of my life. people maybe view Christianity, again, sometimes they think, well, that's not in the real world, it's little bit on the edge. But Christianity, I found it to be real in the situations I've dealt with. Because police officers quite often deal with the more depressing side of life. But as I say, my commitment to my faith has been a real strength.
So it's given you hope. Would you say the same, Alan?
Yeah, I think he said that they're often seen as a soft option. I think being a Christian in any job is really the hard option, not the soft option, because being a Christian opens your eyes and opens your heart to many things, including the people that you see. So what you want to do as a Christian is go and be with people who are needy, people who are reaching out. And as a police officer, I think really what you are is blessed to be in that job, because what other job gives you that opportunity to meet people at their lowest ebb, who are reaching out for help. And obviously our training that we get, every other police officer gets, is adequate to deal with that. But at the end of the day, we're men in a job, and we'll do the job to the best of our ability. But we have that added guidance of knowing that we want to reach out to people a bit more. So I think that helps us.
And there's two themes I can think of in the Bible, mercy and justice. How do you balance those things in your everyday work? Are you ever thought of by your colleagues, or have you ever been accused, those who know you Christians, of being a bit of an easy touch? Have you ever had anything like that said? I
think there's a misconception on that one. I think people think, oh yeah, well, Christians, it's just about forgiveness and letting people off, and that's not true. There is forgiveness for anybody in the world. There is forgiveness, but there's consequences. And if they've broken the law, we've got a job to do. We have to see our job through, and it's a great opportunity for justice and mercy. And there's been times when I've been able to share my faith in situations like that, but also to do the job properly as well.
Yeah.
In the job I do now, I'm more able to share my faith both with the department where I work and out in the community. And it's just been brilliant to see. I mean, it's more, you're more able to stand up for both people outside and the people who you work with as well, because you want to see the best for those people as well. So often people in the police will look at me or look at John and know of our faith, but know that we stand up for them, and that stands us in good ground, doesn't it? Because people will then come to us and ask us advice as well. So we are very much aware that people will either look at us and people are aware that we may be looking at them as well. So it works both ways as well. So it's quite good.
And in the community, John, where you work, which is I won't say exactly where it is, but it's a distinct community. And I think your dad was a vicar there many years ago. But does the community know that you're a Christian there?
Yeah,
People that you meet?
Yeah, a number of people recognise me. And also it was my paper round. So Dad was the vicar, I was a paper boy, and now I'm a cop. Yeah. But I've met many people. Many people know I'm a Christian as well, and know I'm a chaplain as well within the role, in the police force as well.
Okay, the police force is facing, some have said, unprecedented pressure at the moment, financial pressure with the government cuts, other sorts of pressures, with reputation and so on. How does the chaplaincy and River Force, how do you address those pressures?
I think you mentioned before about hope. And one thing, the Christian life is about a great hope and a peace in life. And there are uncertain times that we live in. And the chaplaincy is, for me, many people, colleagues, have had many conversations with me where I've been able to encourage them and listen to them and listen to their concerns. And when it's been appropriate, talk to them about how Jesus can bring peace in turbulent times. I think one thing as well, the Bible talks about salt and light. Yeah. And salt is a preservative. Yeah. So the great thing about being a Christian within my role in the police, with both the people of Merseyside and also colleagues, is to be that sense of preservative with them and to help them through and to say that there is hope and there is a future. And
not all you're a chaplain and a police officer, but there are other chaplains as well, aren't there?
It's a multi-faith chaplaincy. So we've got a Jewish chaplain, we've got a Muslim chaplain, and other Christian chaplains as well.
Yeah, and some of those are representatives of local churches and
Yeah,
clergy.
I think at the moment I'm the only non-ordained chaplain on the force at the moment.
Okay, well, it's great to have you with us today. We're going to go in a few moments to our commercial break, and then we'll come back with some more questions after the break. Great, thank you. Welcome back to Faith Matters. Our guests today are Jonathan Kent and Alan Landrum from Merseyside Police. Welcome back, guys. If you want to get in touch with Faith Matters, you can email us at faithmatters@baytvliverpool.com. I think that will come up on your screen now. Guys, you deal, I mean, you've already said, Jonathan, I think both of you have said, you deal with life's bad stories, really, or bad news. But the gospel the actual word gospel means good news.
Yep.
Good news for the world.
Yep.
And tell us some stories, some good news stories from your work, your many years.
How long have we got?
Well, we've got a full 11 minutes for this.
That's fine.
Yeah, tell us.
One story comes to mind, and that's a guy who lives on my area, who's been struggling with some issues for many years. Police have been called to him, low-level issues with the police. But obviously, due to his issues of alcohol, the main root of that. So as one of the community police officers, I took it on myself to kind of look after this situation. And I've spent quite a lot of time speaking to him, but also in multi-agency meetings, because it's not just the police that we do in the community. We get involved with multi-agency stuff, other services.
Other groups.
Yeah, social services, medical people. And I'm currently working with this guy now to try and get him into a rehab. And it's touch and go whether he'll go to it, but the avenue is there. And that's a big turnaround if we can get him into the rehab. So just building that bridge with people. So not just doing a police job, but seeing something through to try and bring a life change is a good news story.
Yeah.
And it's a very fulfilling part of the job for me, that.
And you got any stories about sort of colleagues, relating to the Christian faith that, people that you've managed to impact? Without naming names, obviously not to name names.
No, a number of things in the past. In the past, viewers may be well aware of Alpha, and we've run Alpha courses before, and a number of my colleagues have come on that, which has led to at least one of them coming to faith, and many conversations through those things. So it's amazing how lots of people say, I don't believe, I'm an atheist, and then I'll say, oh, that's okay. And then we'll be in the car, and a number of conversations will spark up, and there'll be opportunity to talk about God. And people usually have lots of questions.
So you spend many hours in the car, don't you?
Many hours over the years in the car talking to people.
And I know that sometimes it's probably quite boring, isn't it? Just sitting, so opportunities to talk.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah, I was thinking about John Seddon, who was one of the police chaplains I knew of, and sadly just passed away.
Yeah.
He was a police officer, I think, back in the day, and I remember him saying that he went out on an insight with some cops, and when he was asked to feedback on it, he said he realised how boring it was, just sitting in the car. So lots of opportunities to chat.
Lots of opportunities, and I've often said to colleagues, for someone who doesn't believe, you ask a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But that is a great venue for that. And also, some of the jobs we deal with really quickly, they can be quite traumatic. And again, just the opportunity to be able to talk with people and work out issues that have come up through some of the consequences of situations we deal with.
And do you think people take that stuff home?
I think they do, yeah. I think one thing sometimes the police doesn't prepare you for is the emotional fallout from it. It prepare you for confrontation on many levels, physically and to take control of situations. But it doesn't always prepare you for the emotional fallout from situations. And that's, again, where talking, praying, and just being there for people is a great asset.
And do you think prayer makes a difference?
I do,
in what you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
You pray regularly for your work?
I do.
On the...
I do. And I pray for colleagues as well, and colleagues have asked me to pray with them. And the whole sense of peace that people are looking for, they found that in situations through prayer.
Well, you know, after all, you are keepers of the peace.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Alan, tell us some stories.
I just wanted to pick up on part of the question that you asked about. You always seem to be going to the bad news stories, people's bad news stories, and you do. And part of policing is that you will go to situations where people have had no other option about sorting an issue out themselves internally within their family, that they need another agency to come and help them out, which is the police, to sort either their problems out, their issues, or they feel threatened. And as a Christian police officer, as I said before, you want to be in those situations to help these people out. And it's such a great avenue. And as police officers, we do have lots and lots of stories that we could sit here and talk to you about all day. And lots of police officers will tell you all these stories. But actually, when you're out and about in your work, there's such a great sense of peace when you've dealt with a job, isn't there? Yeah. Really well for someone. I'm not really want to recount many stories to you about when I've been put in a certain place for a certain reason. But John and I were talking today about an incident that I particularly went to that's really stayed with me for a while. And I have talked about it in the past, where I've been to a victim of domestic violence, and I knew why I was there. I knew why I was the person that turned up, and she knew that I was the person that needed to turn up. She'd been praying about it, but at the same time she'd been receiving abuse, and I turned up to the house knowing why I was there. Now, as a police officer, again, you have all the trainings there to help you deal with these things, but it's the empathy and just the stare into someone else's eyes who knows really what they need from you, extra to your police role. And when you do see people who are at their lowest ebb and reaching out, it's so fulfilling. As not only just as a police officer and a professional to think you've done a great job, but then to go away back to your family in a place which is a safe place for you all to be, back in your safe location where you live, you know, and just draw yourself upon your own family and cuddle your kids and think you're safe, and that person, I think, who I've helped tonight, safe as well. I think that's what's important as well, isn't it?
That's a rewarding thing, isn't it?
It really is rewarding to go back to your house and think that you've come from your place of work, where some of your colleagues, or you know, people in church, would always think, you're such a worthwhile job, you know, but when you're out there, it does take a lot out of you at the time, but together with your training that you get and the extra spiritual guidance that you get, and we do pray about it, we can pray into a job, pray after a job when we've gone home, driving home to our houses, and by the time we get home, we have that sense of peace, don't we?
So there's a sense in which really, you know, you've got two vocations as a Christian police officer, haven't you? You've got the vocation of, because to be a police officer, it should be a vocation. Yeah. It should be something that you're called to. Yep. But you also, as Christians, we are called as well. So you've got a double vocation in this role. Yeah. That's interesting. I'm aware that, you know, my contact with the police over the years, the police are a bit like the church, I think, in the sense that the media only really want to print the bad news stories, you know, so the stories about corruption and that kind of when the police make a mistake. Would you agree with that? But one of the things I've become aware of is all the good things that the police do never seem to get in the papers. The kind of things that you're talking about.
I think what you want is a balance between the two, neither good or bad, something that's somewhere in the middle, because the same thing could be said of the NHS, the same thing could be said of education. If there's a story there and the media wants it, what better people to pick on than the professionals out there trying to do a good job, because we are working with people that are broken people, and you know, there's people with all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of, say, mental states about them, that you're trying to safeguard both yourself and safeguard the name of Merseyside Police as well at the same time, whilst doing a good service to them as well. Yeah. So if there's anybody out there trying to, you know, to break down what you're trying to do, it's obviously for the wrong reasons, because ultimately we're out there to do a good service for the public.
And we're all broken, aren't we? At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
You know, so we are. You know, it's like that old adage, you know, of the Christian faith. You know, one beggar telling another beggar where to find bread is a similar kind of thing, isn't it? Okay, just touching briefly on what are the major issues for the police and for policing and indeed for the public around crime across Merseyside or even nationally at the moment, do you think?
I think just the climate we live in across the UK and across the world at the moment are uncertain days. So I think uncertainty and reassurance are two parallel things at this time in the society we live. So reassurance is a big part of our job, and we want to reassure victims of crime. We want to go into areas and provide that sense of safety. You asked about the issues in Merseyside. So the national things, I think there's uncertainty because of just the political climate and everything else that we live in. But in Merseyside, one of the big things is ASB in communities, particularly where I work, antisocial behaviour is what we call ASB. And we're a group of youths. It may seem very low level what they're doing, but can have quite an impact on older people. So being involved with things like that, stopping issues before they start.
And the church can make a difference?
Yeah, I think linking with the church is good as well. If you can link, if the police can work with the community, even better.
In your area that happens?
It doesn't so much happen on my estate where I work, but generally we're trying to do that now through street pastors in the town centre.
Yeah.
In St Helens where I work.
We had street pastors on here.
Yeah, well, we're trying to work with them. We had them out at Christmas in the town centre for the first time in St Helens, and we're now looking to engage with a team on a regular basis in St Helens alongside ourselves, particularly with the nighttime economy, but also with youths. In one part of St Helens, the street pastors are quite effective with youths in parks on the early evenings in the summer. It's a great asset for us.
Okay, thanks guys. It's been great to have you here with us today and to take time out and come and share with us, and bless you in your work. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.